body. I'm the cart chair. And then also I was appointed by the town of Oro Valley.
And then we've got some folks online. We'll go online.
Yes, and we can go in order online. Let's go with David.
David Dasher, represent Green Valley.
Is that right? Is it Michael? Is that Michael? Joe Yee.
Oh, Joe, I'm sorry.
Joe Yee. Mr. Yee.
All right, let's move on to Dan.
Morning, all. Dan Gabbia with PAG RTA.
All right, Amber.
Amber Smith. I also don't recall who appointed me, but up in District 1.
All right, and David. Did I hit David already? It's moving around on me.
David Dasher, Green Valley.
All right, and Jim.
Good morning, Jim Sayer with the University of Arizona.
Wendell Long, at large.
Anybody that's online? So it looks like we're still short of a quorum here for right now.
Hello.
Conversation. Yes, right here. So here's the way we can approach this. Since we don't have a quorum, you won't really be able to take any formal action. You could move to item 4 on the agenda, which is member confirmation, to just go around the room and ask if folks are still interested in continuing their membership, recognizing that this cart will go through June 30th.
Hello? Anybody hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Why don't you identify yourself?
Hi, it's he's a Joe Yee, Moon Joe Yee. I'm sorry, I have fooling around with my equipment. So anyway, it's with my joining, do you have quorum now?
No, we're still short one, so we're going to keep an eye on it, but we're going to go ahead and keep talking through this. And then if we get a quorum, then we can have more formal action.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you, Mr. Yee. Appreciate you. So maybe we do that, if that's okay?
Yes, sir.
So why don't we move to item 4, which is member confirmation. And that's, Mr. Chair, really just an opportunity for the members to voice their thoughts. Your current terms would expire on June 30 of 2026. We're going to talk about what a reconstitution might look like of this group going forward. But first and foremost, just want to make sure folks are interested in sticking around through the end of next fiscal year, or this fiscal year, which would be June 30 of 26.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, this is Wendell. This item also had another purpose, and it needs to, for legal purposes, it needs to be on the record, and we don't have a quorum right now.
Correct. Yes.
That's true. Okay.
So yeah, so I guess we can't move forward with even confirmation, can we?
You can just have the conversation, but certainly there is opportunity once there is a quorum.
Okay.
So then the other is really the committee structure, which is more of a conversation. And what you all, again, this was an opportunity to receive feedback from you all in terms of how the cart was organized and value it brought or didn't bring, things we did good over the last 19 and a half years and things maybe that we could do a little differently. So that's really what that topic is.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Yes. And so I guess since we don't have a quorum yet, and maybe we will get another person to join us so we can have some action items to discuss and go over. But moving towards, it's the committee structure itself. looking at that, from what we've done in the 2006 cart and then potentially moving forward in the 2026 cart. I know there's been some items discussed and how, as Mr. Ortega had said, things that we did well and maybe area for room for improvement on that moving forward as far as oversight as we were appointed for our position. And I know everybody has right there the differences of what we've had from the 2006 to the 2026. And if we want to look at that, and if there's, I'd like to have a conversation on this to see what our thoughts are for the structure. Does anybody have any initial thoughts on this?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, while you're thinking through that or looking through that information, we have a couple staff members here that put a fair amount of energy and effort into this, and maybe give us a quick overview, just to kind of get the conversation started. So Melanie, why don't you take the lead
Yes.
on that?
Perfect, thank you. Yes, so the PowerPoint that you were all emailed on the left is the 2006 CART. We pulled information from the administrative code, bylaws, and committee fact sheets and highlighted areas where we thought we might need to have some discussion. We heard from members that things weren't, if something didn't work well, maybe needed to be improved on for the next iteration of the CART. That's kind of what's highlighted on the left, and then we can look at how we would want to maybe make those changes. On the right, there are just some suggestions in red following the idea that it's easier to criticize than create. So we put something down and then can get feedback on what you think will work or not work. And then also pulled from just experience with other citizen-led committees. And we can kind of start there and go through. So we could start and just kind of go down one at a time, if you agree with that, Mr. Chairman. We can start kind of with reporting and documentation. One of the charges that's provided to the CART is it says prepare and review the annual implementation reports. After discussing with staff, it's really a review that this group provides, and our staff does the preparation. So we were suggesting to just clarify that as part of the documents going forward. Any feedback on that?
Yeah, does anybody have any particular comments on that versus the review versus prepare, review and advise on the RTA annual report?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I like this, the way this is set up, requiring us to do quarterly reports that's going to be presented by either the vice chair or the chair to the committee to get us in front of the committee. I think it's very important to do that, to let them know what we're up to and how that direct contact is important. So I'm pleased to see these kind of changes here.
Thank you, Andy. Does anybody else have any comments on this first one? You're-
Like to see more of accountability for attendance, from all members, so that we can show our unification is when it comes to the voting and making sure that we give the proper guidance to the RTA committees.
Thank you. I agree on that, and I believe we have some attendance requirements as we go a little bit further, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification, Andy, your comment, you said quarterly report to the committee. You mean the board, the RTA board, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So it sounds like there's agreement on the RTA annual report language, so we can make that change, and then we can continue. And a lot of the items that you're mentioning are included, so thank you for that. So next, moving on to the sort of the section on public engagement and transparency. It's listed as the CART serving as a conduit for public concerns, and we wanted to just maybe expand that a little bit and make sure we can clarify the role of the CART and address everything properly. So we wanted to put some examples in here, and we came up with, more of a process for identifying some public concerns and how the CART can aid in this, but specifically as the RTA in general maybe moves forward with some project management resources and different things, what can we set up structurally to aid sort of the public concerns discussion, making sure it gets brought up at the right time in the process, ideally before design is set, to not slow down any of the progress with the project, but make sure all of the public concerns are adequately addressed at the right time in the project. So we put an example down on here, but we're open to additional feedback or any other concerns that the board has on this topic.
Thank you, Melanie. Do we have any comments on this under the public engagement and transparency?
Question, but Mr. Chair, just a question. I know that those of us that read the newspaper, a lot of times there are editorials written with misinformation, and I've been very tempted at times to respond, but being a member of this committee, I feel it's probably not my place to do that. Is there a standing on that?
Mr. Chairman, I think that as you look at your role, you have two roles. One as a citizen and the other is as a CART committee member. As a citizen, you have all the rights as a citizen, period. And so as long as you are not representing the CART in your editorial or in your commentary, you're welcome to make whatever comments are appropriate. You can also say that you are a CART committee member. You just can't say that you are representing the CART in any way. And so if you see something that you feel aggrieved by, you can certainly voice your opinion on that. And you can, again, reference that you are a member of the CART, but you should refrain from representing the CART unless the CART has taken action at a duly noticed meeting. You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, having been the person who's hosted the first Broadway overview at Randolph Golf Complex with 90 people in there, it was nuts. And the project continued to go on and again ended successfully. I guess I don't understand is how this committee would be informed about the public process. And that was being held by the city. And I don't know whether the IGA at that point required that or not, but the city went ahead and did it. Not quite sure how we are to get involved in that public process per se. How are we going to be, well, this is going south, First Avenue is a problem. What triggers those kinds of things?
Mr. Chair, maybe I can help on a couple of those things. So I think let's take a little bit of a step back, Andy, and talk about the role that the CART has. And the key, in my opinion, word in the CART definition is accountability. And so what is accountability and how does that translate? What does that mean? And I think that part of this discussion, quite frankly, is to hone that and really develop that so there's clarity on what role the CART should play going forward. And so I think the simplest way to think about it is the responsibility when you look at accountability for the program, for the entirety of the program, there's two fundamental components. It's schedule and budget. And so the conversation that you're having is around that, transparency in terms of schedule and budget. What you just outlined affects both, right? It affects the schedule potentially if there are delays, and affects the budget depending on what are some of the outcomes. What are some of the outcomes? You wouldn't necessarily drive that. I think the reason that this conversation is happening is because the original Constitution says serve as a conduit for public concerns. So in essence, you become a clearinghouse for anybody who's aggrieved by any project all over the region. And my understanding is you were engaged in two. One of them was a noise wall or sound wall conversation up north, and then of course down here in Midtown. the Golden Walls and down here on the Broadway discussion. But how that is accomplished and when it's accomplished are the key conversations here. And we're open to suggestions. It can either be driven by the process where we insert the cart as a part of that process, which I would not recommend necessarily. But it could also be a point where the public, comes and says, hey, we feel aggrieved by this. Or quite frankly, the staff could come to you and say, we feel that you need to weigh in on this. There are some implications here on a schedule and a budget, and we need some help. We want you to weigh in and give us your thoughts because you do represent the region. You have differing perspectives and differing constituency groups. So that's a long-winded answer to not answer your question directly, but it's trying to give you the context of why this issue is important. The last thing I'll leave you with there is there's varied approaches to public engagement throughout the region. Some are very early, robust, and have a lot of conversation. In other areas, not so much because they're not necessary or the constituency groups don't demand it. Those are fine. We just want to make sure that there is some general consistency. It doesn't have to be exactly, tied, if you will, but there should be some general consistency. And that's the conversation we wanted to have today.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, and I guess from where we were in 2006, or are currently, I should say, it's a very ambiguous term, serve as a conduit for public concerns. And so narrowing that down for the potential to move forward, I think in 2026 does help that out. So we can clarify that because it is, in my opinion, very ambiguous. So is there any further comments on that, or does anybody have any suggestions to change?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Should this committee be supporting any kind of presentations that are on construction sites that are in the future? Should we be supporting the people that are presenting so that there's an alignment to where we are all agreeing on pursuing that? Would that be something that we would want to do as committee members?
That's a great question. I'd love to say yes, but that truly isn't your role. So your role is to hold us, but the region accountable for delivery of the program. And so I can see an instance where you are at a public presentation or gathering, and you may see something that you're like scratching your head saying, wait a minute, that's not what I understand, or that's not how I believe that we should approach that. And you should voice that either there or afterward. But I don't know that I can guide you and say, and with absolute certainty, you should be in alignment. Now, what I would hope and expect, quite frankly, if we're all doing our jobs, meaning on the staff side, we have educated you so that you are well-versed. You are one of the more well-versed people in the organization or within that presentation area, so that you know ahead of time some of the pieces and some of the challenges that we're facing, and that you can actually even, be ready, to answer questions. I won't say defend necessarily, but certainly answer questions. And that's truly, in my opinion, how to empower you so that then you, in this setting, you can have a more robust conversation. But then when you're out there, you're well educated on what's in front of the group.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess just to clarify with that. So again, if we are in that, and again, not to say that we're going to defend, but we can shut down those misconceptions or those inaccuracies where we can say, no, here's what is happening, and explain that to the public. Because as we're at those meetings, maybe it would be an example. If somebody comes up, we can clarify those things and say that we are Representative Cart, and we're representing on this, and here is exactly what was transferred. Because as we know, sometimes in those public meetings, what people hear, they hear one thing, but it's not exactly what was stated. We can clarify that. So good question.
Let me make just recently, I made a presentation to a small group, and there was a CART committee member that was present. and actually reinforced what I was talking about and what I was saying. So it looked like we were in alignment, but it was really from a whole different perspective. And so that's a role that you could think about, but it was because this particular individual was well versed in what was going on and educated on all the pieces, and so could help dispel some of the misinformation that Frank spoke of. And so we're hoping to get to that point where you are well versed, you understand, generally where the projects are, the programs are, and how they're being delivered, et cetera. That's really the role, I think.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any other questions?
So we have 12 now? Yeah. We have 12. 12.
All right. Well, perfect. We just learned that we do have quorum now, so we may should we take a step back and, okay. So we're gonna take a step back here from this conversation that we had, and let's we've already called to order, but now we can go to the approval of the November 12th, 24 CART meeting summary. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion, Wendell Long.
Second,
Dave Dasher.
All right. So we have a couple of first and seconds on that. Can I get all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Well, Mr. Chairman, just clarify, this is the November 12th, 2024 meeting that was almost a year ago, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And that we haven't had a quorum since that time, if I recall, moving forward. So that's why it's almost a year. Going back to that, were there any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, moving on to the election of officers. So on here, each year the RTA Citizens for Accountability for Regional Transportation elects a chair, vice chair, and secretary to serve 1-year terms. And so on that, we have asked to nominate and move forward with approval a slate of the officers that are currently in place to move forward to the end of the June 30th, 2026, to finish out that.
So moved.
All right. And so on that, thank you, Mike. So we have Charlene Robinson as the secretary, Chris Albright as the vice chair, and myself, Fred Nakarati, as the chair. And so, Kelly, did you?
So move again.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Now we can move on to member confirmation as to continuing on with your term through the end of this, the current RTA through June 30th, 2026. I'll go around the room. I'll start with you, Kelly.
I would like to continue on.
Thank you, Kelly.
I will continue as member.
Thank you.
I will as well.
I will continue as well.
Thank you.
I will continue as well.
All right,
Did-
David.
did-
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dave Dasher. I'll continue as well.
Thank you, David. Joey.
I will continue on until our quorum with a problem is straightened out, and it's, at that time, I will offer my resignation
Until when?
until the end of until June 2026.
Thank you. Wendell.
Yes, and I have another thing when you're done with going around.
What was that, Wendell? I'm sorry, we didn't.
I said yes.
Okay.
And I'd like to fulfill the purpose of this agenda item after you've gone around and talked to and gotten everyone's decision. Is that this isn't what the purpose of this agenda item is. But you can continue to go around.
All right, thank you, Wendell. Amber,
Yes.
thank you. And Jim,
Yes, I'll continue through June of 26.
Pamela, you said?
and Pamela,
Yes, Pamela says yes.
thank
I
you.
will continue. Thank you.
All right, Wendell, you can go ahead now.
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor, Mr. Chair. My name is Wendell Long. Obviously, I'm a member of this committee. Approximately 3 months ago, during the RTA meeting, the mayor of Tucson publicly claimed that I was not a resident of Pima County. I just wanted to put on the record that this is false. Not only have I been a continuous resident of Pima County since 2016, it has been my only residence. This could have been easily verified by the mayor with a modicum of due diligence, but it obviously wasn't. Unfortunately, the RTA does not take minutes by customary means. The RTA relies on the Zoom recording to be their minutes, so it's next to impossible to correct, quote, the minutes. Of course, we do not have the power to correct the RTA minutes, but the purpose of this agenda item is to put on the record the fact that I, Wendell M. Long, has been a continuous resident of Pima County, as well as a member of this committee in good standing. In fact, I have yet to miss a single meeting, and I fully qualify to be a member of this meeting. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate that clarification, Wendell. Thank you. All right, so moving on from the, we don't have to, okay. Okay. So moving on, and thank you for everybody for continuing to serve throughout the rest of this term.
And once again, Mr. Chair, the only purpose of this was to get it on the record somewhere, and now it is on the record. Thank you for your time.
Yes, no problem, Wendell. Thank you very much. So moving on to the CART committee structure, okay? And so that's where we are right now. We were going through this. So if you're okay, Melanie, could you kind of give us the first part that we just went through, and then we can pick up on where we are?
Sure. So for those that just joined, we're doing an overview of the kind of what's written in the bylaws, administrative code, and committee fact sheets related to the CART that was created for the 2006 RTA, and then noting some areas where we might need to have some discussion for changes or improvements with the 2026 CART for RTA Next. And so on the PowerPoint presentation that was emailed out, on the left is the 2006 CART, on the right are some items for discussion, just some areas that are highlighted on the left, and then on the right is some suggested changes, but again, we're open to committee feedback. So we were discussing public concerns, and being the conduit for public concerns, staff can go back and look at some language and we can present it to the group based on your feedback. So we appreciate that. And moving on to the next slide, which has membership and structure. This was a key area we thought needed some discussion. Currently, the CART has 32 members, 8 are jurisdiction appointed, and 24 are appointed by the RTA board. As we found today, it's a little difficult to get quorum. And so based on some past experience or other citizen advisory committees, we were suggesting maybe a smaller membership. And so we put an example down here with 9 jurisdiction appointed, and then with the charge sort of being project delivery and financial accountability, maybe 2 additional appointed members who have those as strengths or kind of work in that industry, the financial, and then project delivery could be the additional 2 members, but we're open to feedback and discussion.
Thank you, Melanie.
Wouldn't it make more sense just to enforce attendance requirements, and if people do not attend, to remove them from the board?
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Long, so yeah, that would be, except that the way that the Constitution is for us, we have to have 12 members. And so part of the challenge has been just the sheer number, the sheer volume of folks that are asked to participate. And so this is really just trying to reduce that and make it more honed in. But certainly the attendance piece, I think, could be and needs to be focused on, and really we need to hold people accountable for that as well.
And in my opinion, I think a large group of members is important for this type of committee. It's a citizens advisory committee on this. So I think I think narrowing it down is not what it's designed, how it's designed. I think you want a wide group of people. But then again, I mean, if they don't show up, remove them and appoint someone else.
Appreciate that feedback, Wendell. Does anybody else have comments on this?
This is Joe Yi. Since we is, stress on the importance of the broad representation of our community in our work, I think their membership should be little bit more than this 11 11 members. But this we at the same time we do have a problem with the fact that that there's so much distraction, so much new technology. Every organization in the community is struggling to attract and maintain membership and attendance. So we are not unique. But in order to fulfill this broad representation and larger participation overall in our community, I think we should maybe not, not 31 or 32, but maybe somewhere between this 11 membership and somewhere between those two numbers, we can pick a happy medium. But I think the underlying is, solution to this problem is not to just you don't attend, we'll get rid of you. I think we should find out what cause such as indifference and our inability to maintain the interest of the committee member. Should we, as transportation is so important to us every neighborhood, and it's not only to their well-being in their daily activities, but think about all the expenses, the potential for accidents, and timeliness of their appointment. All those things are extremely important to all, our wage earners and our proper function of our community. So I think perhaps what we might be looking at is can we amplify the importance of the work that this committee and its associated organization do and affect our community life and quality of life? Can we, as throughout the neighborhood, homeowner or neighborhood association, and especially those organizations that are close by the roadway that identified to be improved, to reach out to them and impress upon them how important it is that they provide a qualified members and who has the time and the interest and the passion to help to make the community better in regard to transportation needs of our community. And then through them, maybe we can have some maybe more generous, enthusiastic membership, and then perhaps that might help us to address this attendant problem. So that's my take.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go to Kelly and then David and Amber. So Kelly?
Thanks. I just want to say, I always thought 32 members for the cart was a lot to manage. And I think part of the reason we didn't get consistent quorum is just because with that number of people, it was just a lot. And especially when the pandemic happened, I think attendance really dropped off. So I think making it smaller is a good idea. I don't know what the right number is, but definitely smaller than 32.
Thank you, Kelly. David?
what would the number and of the jurisdictions and non-jurisdictions, what jurisdictions would those cover? At present, 2/5 of the population of the county is in unincorporated area, and at present it doesn't seem to get the representation it should have.
Thank you, David. Amber?
My comment is more about how I've been sporadically attending over the last couple of years, and it's because I end up with calendar invites just thrown out there, versus having consistent meeting cadence to where I can plan accordingly. Because like right now, I'm missing my all staff meeting to make this meeting because I know it's really important, and it's a meeting I'm supposed to lead, but it's set every Monday. So moving forward, I think that if we had more consistency in how we are scheduling the meetings, with either trying to build consensus with those that can attend in advance of setting a date, or at least having it on the same cadence on a regular basis, that would certainly help the effort of having a quorum.
And thank you. Does anybody else have any additional feedback? Andy?
I was thinking that perhaps looking at a number like 15 with the RTA board appointing the additional people in addition to the jurisdictions, 15 or 17, simply to get a smaller group together, which I agree, but at the same time ensuring that there is a broader perspective in this and simply just jurisdictional kind of finger pointing, so to speak, although these people would be appointed by the RTA board. The other thing that I want to mention is that when I was appointed, it took months to get my appointment through once I was first contacted. And I'm not sure what that process is, but apparently there's a vacancy there that occurred for several months as we kind of worked my name through the process. Well, this was several years ago. So that's another thing that kind of contributed maybe to some of the vacancies. But again, way too many folks for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, I was going to offer a similar idea, like maybe some middle ground, respecting that 32 is tough when you're trying to get quorum, but also the idea of having a fair number of citizens to represent. I just worry about the logistics of holding folks accountable and the turnover and the time, and you're still dealing with quorum issues while you're trying to replace people and all that. So maybe there's some middle ground of 16 or 18 or whatever that number is. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Pamela?
I'm sorry I'm driving very convenient late here. Sorry about that, but I agree with everything that everyone's saying, especially Amber, with having more of a consistency and also a smaller number. I always believe mighty things come in small packages. Another thing is kind of redefining what our roles are and what you're expecting of us, because I've been on for many years kind of representing the hospitality world, and I'm not sure I'm representing it as best as I can. So just maybe redefining what we're supposed to be doing, and that would be helpful. But I do believe that it should be a smaller group and a more consistent date to meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have comments on this? All right, thank you. For those of you that still have your hand up, if you don't have any further questions, you can just take it down for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a couple of thoughts in hearing your feedback. Appreciate it very much. I think one of the pieces that'll be important here is the qualifications of the members as well. So the number I think is one, and we'll take your thoughts and look at how we can structure that. So there's actually 8 jurisdictions, with ADOT being the 9th. And so it could be that we look at the 8 jurisdictional members, maybe give them each 2. I don't know. We'll go back and forth on that, and we'll think about that. The other piece I think that as we're trying to figure this out, and maybe it became a self-fulfilling prophecy almost, because we had a consistent date early on, that, where, we struggled a little bit. And so we tried to accommodate people's schedules, and that was probably a mistake, because there's so many different constraints on everyone's time. But I really like the idea of a consistent structure or date and time. Just out of curiosity, are there days of the week that tend to work better and times of the day that tend to work better for those of you who are here? And I'm just curious, without prolonging this discussion too much, I'm curious, so that as we go back and start looking at it, what could that look like? Amber mentioned she's got an early morning Monday staff meeting, so obviously Monday mornings probably aren't a great date or a great time of day. But are there others during the week that might work better? I'm just curious. If you don't mind, Mr. Chair, maybe go around and ask folks to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great idea. And that's where I was thinking as well. So I'll start with you, Kelly.
My schedule's all over the place, but Tuesdays are always bad.
I'm open. I'm free.
Thursdays seem to be a better time for me. I can see where Mondays and Tuesdays in the work week limits people's ability to participate, because you've got to get going for the week. But Thursdays, and again, a Friday would be also good, but I think a lot of people take that 3-day weekend. So Thursdays would make sense.
Actually, I'm retired. Any day of the week is good, but it seemed like the lunchtime meetings had a lot of attendance, because those that worked didn't have to necessarily take more time off of work.
I agree. Wednesdays and Thursdays at noon, to me, are the best times.
Yeah, David.
Open to any time.
Okay. Mr. Yee.
I'm somewhat retired, so I'm pretty much open. But I've been with the committee in 19 plus years, so I think I should make room for younger and more rigorous person to carry on the work in this committee. But for the, if I will stay on until the quorum situation is better addressed than now.
Yep. Thank you. Amber.
My schedule's a mess too, but Wednesday, Thursday lunch are by far the best days, aside from Friday, which is the most ideal for me.
Thank you. Jim.
I don't think there's any one day that's better or worse for me. It's just kind of all over the place. So just adjust. I'll just adjust accordingly.
Thank you. Wendell.
Midnight's on Tuesday. Just I know I'm free there. I think my schedule's all over the place. It's very helpful though when your administrative staff sends out possible dates too, so we can first of all, needs to be far enough in advance, and second, to just see if the group is available on a certain date. Most of my stuff can't be moved.
Thank you. And as for me, I would say that Wednesday, Thursday lunch, or maybe mid-morning on either one of those would probably work best. Oh, I'm sorry, Pamela.
Yeah, I agree with Amber. My schedule's all over the board. It depends on when clients come in, and I'm driving them all over Tucson. So Wednesdays, Thursdays, lunch. I thought lunch was great, but I'm also right downtown, so it was easy to get to, and whatever the majority rules. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. It sounds like, based upon this conversation, Wednesday lunch might be best. So we'll look forward for that. All right. Thank you. So moving on, Melanie.
Yes, thank you. For the member qualification section, we touched on it lightly. Was there any additional feedback on the areas we want to be sure are representative, or industries that are sure represented on the cart?
Does anybody have any additional feedback on that, on member qualifications? There was no suggestions at this point, correct?
Correct. It was just what's listed on the left and highlighted as what's currently written, we can continue that or we can adjust it based on feedback.
I would think that some, like the archaeologists, anthropology, and wildlife mitigations are more of a nice to have than a requirement.
This is Joey. I believe if the staff probably have a broader, more insightful knowledge about what qualification the membership would work best for the card as a mission. And I think if you would, in consultation with the committee membership to spell out some of the qualifications the card committee would like to attract and be able to use their talent and time. I think that may be a good starting point.
Chairman, thank you, Mr. Yee. So I would just suggest what's listed there is probably pretty close, which is finance, accounting type background, engineering or construction background and/or construction background. I think if you look at the challenges that we faced in the past, what information, and that's another conversation, but what information could have been helpful to you to guide us or to give us thoughts. But part of that is the financial, kind of the accounting background is helpful, but I don't think you have to have an accounting degree necessarily. It's just somebody that has that understanding. Construction is helpful, but you don't have to be a contractor. So engineering is helpful, but you don't necessarily have to be an engineer. But those are the types of things that we can, and we'll outline a little more, Mr. Yee, but those are the kinds of thoughts that we've got at this point. But there also has to be just, kind of non-technical people as well, so that because they bring a perspective that we sometimes overlook when we're so fixated on the technical aspects. So it's got to be, kind of this very broad spectrum, if you will, of expertise.
Thank you. Joe?
Mr. Chair, I think the committee has worked really well in the past, having a good mixture of people with both public and private sector experience. I think they tend to understand the process from both sides.
Thank you. That's a good point. Any other comments? All right, let's keep moving. I'm sorry, Andy.
Yeah, I want to echo his, just when you simply say accounting, finance, construction related things, I think you need to, and if we're going to be involved in the public participation process, there probably needs to be someone who has some expertise in interaction with the public and how to present, to the public and get their concerns. So what I think broader, or at least some folks with a little broader background than simply in finance and construction. I don't want to point fingers at Mike or anything with engineers, but sometimes very narrow focused, and we don't need this sound wall. This is just, especially with all those designs on it, that's ridiculous. So those are the kinds of things I think we need to be sensitive to.
Thank you, Andy. All right. Moving on, Melanie, to the next.
Yep, okay. So the next section was governance, and we have the officers listed on the left along with the executive committee, and then meetings held at least biannually. So we have some suggestions on the right. We have the chair continuing, obviously, and then a suggestion for discussion about vice chairs specific to finance and project delivery as the two key charges for the CART. And then a suggestion for meetings to be held quarterly. And then the sort of spelling out of the chair or vice chair providing an update to the RTA board quarterly.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments on that? Kelly?
We used to do updates to the RTA board. A long, I don't, because I used to do them when I was chair, but well, after 10 years, someone else had to be chair.
I want to say, I think it may have stopped right around COVID, if I'm thinking correctly.
Mr. Chairman, let me add a couple thoughts there. So we definitely want this group, the CART, and I'll use CART going forward in RTA Next to be a very integral part of the community oversight and public oversight. And my suggestion, and we're still kind of working through all that, right? But my suggestion is that not only is there a standing item on the agenda at the board meeting, but that potentially there could even be standard items that will be reported so that it isn't just, it really makes sure that it's, hey, it's going to be a financial review, it's going to be a program review, potentially a sub-element or not sub-element, an element review. And all of a sudden that becomes much more consistent, but it also is not just a look back at how we have done, but potentially a look forward. And so that on a quarterly basis, you're also looking forward to through the end of the program to say, hey, we have some concerns about this. And that way that we'll call it unfiltered conversation with the board happens in a very open way so that we can anticipate challenges and then work together, the staff, the CART, the board to address and potentially, resolve some of those issues before they become issues. And, they're concerns, but before they become challenges or issues, we're resolving them. That's kind of what's in my head in terms of the structure, which would then memorialize it and it becomes part of the system as opposed to it's a function of who's the chair or who's, you're going to be standing up there and chatting with the board is kind of a general thought there.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I think that puts a nice structure to it, and that way we know exactly what to expect and the board needs to expect from us as well. So thank you for that. Does anybody else have questions on this right here? All right, hearing none. Melanie, we move on to the next section, please.
Yes, so the next one, related to meeting procedures. The only thing we thought that needed to be updated here was just the quorum. So we can go back and look at the number of members based on the discussion earlier and then just make quorum 51% and just spell that out unless there's other suggestions.
Does anybody have comments on that?
Well, isn't the quorum 50% right now?
12 members.
It's a
of the
flat
32, yeah, flat quorum, 12 members of the 32 member committee.
Okay.
And I think this ties in nicely because it's just putting at the 51%, but 11 members max, which would help us with, as you mentioned earlier, Wendell, that we're reviewing meeting minutes from November 12th of 24. And so that will help this, that we have it max membership, and it also defines it, but it doesn't have anything to do with actual members from the previous part. So
yeah, but quorum is pretty traditional at 50%. I don't know why we'd want to make it harder and make it 51%.
Oh, we can make it 50.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent across basically all organizations.
Yep, we can do that. And that, just to clarify, the max 11 members was referring to if we had an 11-member committee, if it's 15 or 17, based on feedback, we can just change that number.
anybody else? All right, thank you. Melanie, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so the last one was authority and tools. It does list currently that the CART committee participates in review of the RTA's POP document. So we did send that out for review. I think here we just wanted to highlight that it is, sort of the charge of the committee, and that's why we did email it out. Some members maybe felt they didn't have the expertise to review that document. And so if there's anything that we can do to help you feel like you have the power, skills, ability to review that document and provide feedback, we're more than happy to discuss that. Or if you think it's not something that should be within your purview, this is just for open discussion.
Do we have a slide on this?
We didn't have any specific recommendations. We just highlighted it on the
Okay,
left.
I just want to make sure, because I'm looking at the last slide, I just want to make sure that I'm on the current slide. So there's no slide for this, correct?
It says authority and tools in the bottom left corner, and then
Oh, okay, okay, just that one part. Got it.
correct.
This is Joe Yi. I think it would be helpful if when we talk about any particular areas that is part of our oversight and participation, at that juncture, I think if the staff would prepare a brief explanations of the subject matter, and then as I interact with the committee member, so make sure each and every one have some basic understanding what they're doing, and it's, how they can get themselves better informed to be more functional and helpful to the work of the committee.
On this? All right. Thank you. Melanie, moving
Okay,
forward.
so moving on to the last section, there's language about subcommittees, and the CART committee shall form at least 2 mandatory subcommittees, the Uniform Mitigation Subcommittee and the Public Corridor Planning Process Subcommittee. And from our understanding or looking at past history, it was maybe we could change it to that subcommittees are formed just in response to needs identified by the CART committee rather than making it explicit.
Does anybody have comments on that?
Agreed.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think that's a good one because it's very broad for us if we need.
Great. So the last item we wanted to cover on this agenda item was just looking ahead at some of the tools that could help just to make it clear for the committee exactly what we're asking you to review related to project delivery and then also on the finance piece. So we came up with a sample project status overview or a dashboard. If you want to advance to the next go 2 slides ahead, Isa. Thank you. And this would be a quick sort of 1-page overview. It can be sent out as a pre-read for the group and then can be used as part of the board update as needed as well. But we wanted to clearly lay out exactly what the ballot language was, the scope and benefits per the administrative code, and then a financial review. On the right would be a status, just using a simple red, yellow, green, so we can indicate sort of the health financially, and then the milestones and progress bar at the bottom. On the left would be sort of the design phase, whether you're in right away, and then construction with some milestone indicators on the top. And then just a quick project delivery update, and then any action items. So for those of you that live and breathe Gantt charts, it was kind of a merge of that in addition to a simple way to explain to the public kind of what the current status is of the project. So this, again, was just a sample, and we're open to any feedback.
Thank you, Melanie, and Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So there's a couple things that I'd like to draw to your attention. So the first is, this is an example and it's specific to a project. But keep in mind that the oversight is for the entire program. And so it's the entire $2.6 billion program or $2.67 billion program going forward. And looking back, it's for the entirety of the RTA 1 of the 2006. Okay. And so I think that as we are evolving and developing this, it has to be with that in mind. Now, we'll have to get into the project level when it comes to the roadway element. But when you look at some of the others, the safety element, wildlife corridors, et cetera, those are pieces that will need oversight as well, just to make sure that we're delivering. Because again, it's your ability, but really our ability as a team to convey to the voter that in fact the program is being delivered as promised. That's got to be the underlying focus here. And so these are opportunities for you to see and weigh in early, and then this will formulate your report to the board. is really the way that we're kind of thinking that through. I just wanted to.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I like this. I think it's a good way to just put it out there for us, so it's a better understanding across multiple people. Amber?
Yeah, I agree as well, Fred, that this is significant. I mean, I know that even I would just be emailing staff about a project that was in my area. And so I think that this would reduce a lot of frustration due to the high level of transparency and the ease of being able to understand the information. And I recognize that this is just a sample, but I think that this concept would be very well received.
Yes. Thank you, Amber. Does anybody else have any comments? And
Yeah, looking at this, project delivery update, are the two related ones, or they were just showing that? Because it says it's in construction and there's a completed segment one, or
This
oh,
was,
okay.
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so, good. I think the other thing is that we need to identify the funding, okay, which is cash requirement remaining. There needs to be a statement in there as to what the plan is to acquire the additional funding if shortfall required, tip funds, whatever it is. There needs to be an affirmative statement to that effect for us to do the review.
thank you, Andy. Does anybody else have any questions, comments? All right, does that cover everything, Melanie?
That does, thank you. So we'll go back and do our adjustments and then send information out and have it ready for next meeting.
All right, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6 here, review of the RTA Administrative Code policies, objectives, and procedures. And so this is for the pop feedbacks from the card member, correct? So which you should have in your packet there is that, you know, what we've had under these certain items here, the Public Oversight Card Committee, POPs enforcements, elements and documents, and the comments. Does anybody have any particular going through this list, starting with the public oversight? No, hearing none.
Is
All
there
right.
are you putting a list up or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was the list not? Yeah,
You have that.
it should be in your packet, the POPs feedback from card members.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, right there. It's up now.
It's up now.
Yes. So on the public oversight, does anybody have any comments on that? Okay. Then moving on, if we can get back to where the cart committee is, the second one there up the top, I think.
Just go back up to the top. Just go back up to the top. There you go.
Yeah. So under the cart committee.
Could you section? I'm looking at this. Can you give me the section in the pop?
Yeah. So now we move from the public oversight to the second one down, which is the cart committee. If you're looking on the left there.
Oh, okay. I was looking on my mirror. Okay. Can we get that on?
Put it on those.
Does anybody have any further comments on the under the cart committee one? Andy, are you able to? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. So this really is an opportunity. We're going through a review of the admin code and the policies in anticipation and preparation for RTA next. And the card is actually listed as part of the effort. And so we thought, let's get some feedback from you all but not just on that aspect, but on the entirety of it. And I realize it's a pretty voluminous document. We do have the jurisdictions going through the process now. Our goal is to have, we'll call it a rough draft, complete by the end of next month, so by the end of October, and then present it to the board for consideration at their December 4th meeting. So just keep in mind, it doesn't mean that this is your last shot. I mean, we can send you and keep you updated as this goes through the process, but we really wanted to give you the opportunity to weigh in on it before we went through and finalized it.
Thank you, Mike. Hearing that no one has any, we'll keep on moving on. We can jump back if something pops out to somebody. So looking at the POPs enforcement, does anybody have anything on that? All right, we'll keep moving on. The POPs elements and document edits under that one. Which if you look, it goes down. That's just the last one on there. Okay, David, go ahead.
Yeah, it says ensure artillery and collector road pavement rehabilitation. That's already in the guidelines of the 48 chapter 29s. That's basically under the special taxing districts, under the state laws. And it appears that the Title 48 and Chapter 29 laws really haven't been addressed quite as they should be.
No, that's correct, David. Does anybody else have any questions? Amber?
So just to back up for a second, Mike, has there been any quantifiable studies as to maybe understanding where some of the frustration is coming from that we might have heard over the years on lack of transparency and what hasn't been shared?
Mr. Chair, Amber, only anecdotally, nothing, what I would say formal. I mean, really and truly, that's part of the conversation we wanted to have with you all today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Andy?
I will say this, that this is more discussion about substantive items that since I've been a CART member. Okay. And this is the kind of feedback I appreciate as a CART member, to understand what is behind things. And this is real important that this committee work amongst itself as well, under the guidance from the RTA board but we have to be a living and breathing organization and not just be spoon-fed things, quite frankly, that in the past has happened. So this is a breath of fresh air beginning today.
Thank you, Andy. I agree. Does anybody else have any comments, questions? Hearing none, I think we can move forward on that.
Yes, on the future agenda.
Yes. So moving on to future agenda items. Okay, and so before I go to you, Mike, if you don't mind, does anybody from the committee have any future agenda items they'd like to discuss? All right.
Will there, I'm sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, will there be more information on RTA next that can be brought to our attention?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good question, Jose. Mike?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So future agenda items that I was thinking about, two. What I'd like to do is give you an overview of the 2006 RTA. And so the thought there is to really bring you up to date. There's been a lot of conversation at the board level, and it's evolved quite dramatically over the last probably 3 months or so. And I think it's important for you to get up to speed on the 2006 RTA and kind of what's going on with that and what the strategies are for completion of that. and basically being able to say, okay, these are the ideas that we've got on completion that have now been approved by the board. But I'd also like to have a separate agenda item, which is RTA Next. And they're related, by the way. RTA 1 and RTA Next are related, very much so. But give you an overview of RTA Next and really start walking you through what that looks like in preparation for the voter ask in March. I would also suggest that this is September, and I know this November and December get really tight, but I would suggest that if you all are up for it, potentially in November or in early December, that we gather again so that before the end of the calendar year, you've heard, because it'll be 19 and a half years since the 2006 program has been in place, and I think it'd be good to get a report for you. So, plus that's coincides with the end of the year, which is the annual report. So, if you're okay with that, Mr. We'll look for a date that's probably a Wednesday at noon that we'll be able to identify. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Does anybody else have any questions, comments? All right, hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, a second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Kelly and Charlene. Then we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.